Today's video is focused around property sourcing. There's about 8 to 10 questions that have come from a viewer. Thank you so much, Willem van der Eys. I will be able to unpack your questions, and I trust that this is going to nail what you are after. So the questions are varied. What is property sourcing? How different it is to wholesaling? Is it the same, perhaps? Because it sounds the same. Is it legal? Where can I start? How can I start? What do I need to have in order to be able to start? Where would I find investors? So as you can see, like I shared, today is just all things property sourcing / property wholesaling. I've already answered the question because they're exactly the same thing. Sourcing is a United Kingdom terminology. Wholesaling is a United States terminology. My education was fully based on a United Kingdom explanation. However, when you really get to understanding these different strategies, you would have to also find out, does it work in your country, and how does it work in your country? Because in South Africa, it's fairly new and very different to how you would learn it, for example, from American-based channels. Welcome to my channel. My name is Genevieve Stafford Jack, and as you've heard, all things property we do speak on this channel. On Mondays, I focus on property. On Wednesdays, I'm introducing something new, and I'm going to be focusing on finances. I'm not a CPA or anything like that, but I'll be bringing a lot of my experiences and lessons I have learned that before getting into debt, how really good my credit scoring was when I got into debt, and how eventually having an effective budget worked my way out of debt. A mouthful, I know. So here we go. Is property sourcing legal? Yes, it is legal. However, you need to understand what you can do within the property sourcing space so that you do not tap into the real estate agent space, because you cannot trade without what they call an FFC, a Fidelity Fund Certificate. You want to be on the right side of the law. There is a course that I do hold every 4 to 6 weeks. The course is really custom built for a few people to interact, because by the time that 8 to 10 hours is completed over a 4-day period, you need to know how you're going to start. You need to know the documentation and how to be on the right side of the law. That is the short answer. The second answer on how can you start, I've got a 4-part series right here on YouTube. I'll stick up a playlist on the top right here, and at the end of this video I'll leave the playlist so that you can actually understand what goes into property sourcing. How does it form part of property investment? And by the way, it's a creative finance strategy where you that have got time, you intentionally use your time to create an income on the side. And this also answers another question. Is it sustainable? It all goes back to your lifestyle. What is it that you do? Why would you want to get into property sourcing, right? Because if you get 10,000 for this one deal, 15,000 for another deal, and the third deal falls through, how will you be budgeting your money effectively so that you know that on a monthly basis, the money that you've created from your deals is something that can sustain you? Right? And I trust that answers maybe 2 questions in there. How would you start? Like I shared, on this channel, I created a 4-part series that talks about property investment, and you can understand how property sourcing is part of property investment. How do I find property investors? I've also done a video on finding property investors, how you could actually use your social media platforms to be constructive when you are posting, how you've actually dressed up, so to speak, what your social media platform looks like. So if somebody actually finds you from a community that you've been commenting in, they find you, they actually can find you in good stead to show off your property investing skills. One of my students shared over the last session, but Jen, I kind of feel like a bit of an imposter syndrome because I haven't closed a deal yet. Well, this is where I encourage you guys. Don't talk about the stuff that you're going to do. Talk about the things that you are currently doing, because people will respect you more for what you are currently doing opposed to what your intentions are. Because, all good intentions, yeah, I don't even want to go there, right? But talk about what you are learning. Talk about when you went to go and view this particular property. Share about your experience, just small little nuggets. Imagine all those aha moments that you've had during education. How have you put some of those aha moments in play? So those are really good posts to have. And investors that are out there that are just starting, that may be time strapped, will be able to say, you know what, this person is in the learning phase. I am in the learning phase. Maybe we can get together and I can leverage their time. I could give them my requirements. You don't know who's out there. You don't know how they are looking at your social media platform. Now, just imagine you are out there constructively sharing what you're doing, constructively sharing your wins, constructively. You get the point, right? And so, yes, that particular question, I trust that I have blown it up enough on how in these times, like we're currently on adjusted level 4, how in these times we can still network and be effective. And here's just a random tip for some people. Some of you say, but it looks like I'm a bit cheap if I have to have a WhatsApp video conversation. No, you're not. It's just a medium of when you are talking to somebody new to have that conversation, right? I have a discovery call, and that discovery call is a 15-minute conversation that you and I can have so that I can come and answer some of the questions that you have. I have it on Zoom. It's online. You know what I learned is that if somebody else is also stepping out of their comfort zone, and they meet you at a point where you've stepped out of your comfort zone, you create something new. I had found in the past that if I had to call everybody that sent me a message with their cell phone number, I would be running a 24/7 call center. But the moment I put my discovery call online on Zoom, where somebody needs to actually have data, click on the link and join me in the private room, just like your investor. Your investor is going to have to take that step of faith. You take that step of faith so that you guys can meet each other at a point that is convenient for you both. And this is where I started finding, for me, with my discovery calls, the discovery calls and the queries went from this amount of queries to about this amount of queries. And that I was happy about, because I then realized that if I put something out differently, people that are really serious about connecting will connect. But people that are usually just waiting for information to come their way, and because maybe you may think, oh, I'm just a wholesaler, I don't really have money and things like that, or I've got a lot of time to create a side hustle, I need to be sacrificing everything. No, you don't. This is a two-way street, and that is something that you really, really need to understand, especially if you make a consistent side hustle of it and it eventually grows into a business. These are the things that you really need to consider. How do I sift out people that just make a lot of noise? Because look, social media is that, right? You're going to find that on social media, it is easy to click the like button. It is easy to comment and keep scrolling. They say that if social media was measured by meters, do you know how many meters you scroll down on a daily basis? So do you think, or that one awful comment actually means something? People that hide behind comments are nothing but trolls, and that's what you need to keep in mind. Because if you are interested in property investment, you are interested in growing your property investment business, you're going to actually say to yourself, I'm going to make sure I'm legal, I'm going to make sure I get the education, I'm going to make sure I plug into an environment where I connect with people, I'm going to make sure that my profile shows off the best of me for where I am, even though I am learning. You just don't know who is watching you. And you know, the funny thing is, some people find their investors a lot closer to home. And your investors are just people like you and me that can go to the bank and ask the bank for a bond to cover a property, and then at the end of the day your tenant will be paying that particular property off. But in property investing, you work very smart strategies so that the tenants are paying off your bond and the expenses, and you are getting a cash flow from the property that you invested your time and energy into. So don't think that property investors are these big bad spooks out there with a lot of money. No, I find that there's simple people just like you and I that has got either access to inheritance, or they've saved money, or they are just close by and they can go to the bank because their credit scoring holds the power for them to actually apply for that particular property, the bond, and all those things that come with it. So I trust that in all of the story, I was able to cover all your questions. And if you find that I may have missed out any of your questions, go down into the comments below so that you can ask further questions or drop me that email. And I have fun answering questions that I know you specifically looking for, because if you are specifically looking to have these questions answered, what more about the rest of the community? So just a quick reminder, I'm going to put up the playlist right here so that right now you can click up there and get started in property in this 4-part series, where we start off with creating and explaining what are these definitions people use. What is a property deal? Who is a property investor? What is a property investment opportunity? All of this jargon that we tend to use so loosely, assuming everybody else will learn it, right through to the point of finding your opportunity, what goes into due diligence, and running numbers to ensure that the deal that you have found is profitable. Will I see you up right there? Yep, right there in this playlist.